All right, welcome to another deep dive, you guys.
Yeah.
Today we're going deep on something pretty intense.
Very intense is right.
A listener actually sent us
Mm-hmm.
a transcript of a near-death experience
Yeah.
that was shared on the From Heaven YouTube channel.
Yeah, YouTube channel.
And it's this personal account.
Yeah.
It's super interesting from a man named Dean Braxton.
Dean Braxton, yeah.
So it's a YouTube transcript from a personal testimony.
It is.
And the title of the video
Mm-hmm.
is it's in Portuguese, so
Okay.
translated it.
Yep.
But it's called Man Dies, Speaks with Jesus, and Returns with a Shocking Message.
Right.
NDE, dubbed Strong Testimony.
Yeah, so this is so an NDE
Right.
is a near-death experience.
Right.
And they're pretty fascinating.
They are, yeah.
There's a lot of similarities, but then also lots of really unique and personal details as well
Yeah.
that make them really interesting.
Totally, yeah.
I mean, everyone's experience is going to be different.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and so that's what makes it cool.
Right.
So in this deep dive, we're gonna kind of really look at the core elements
Mm-hmm.
of Dean's experience and what the message was that he brought back.
Right. So
Okay.
to start,
Mm-hmm.
Dean's story begins in Seattle.
Ooh.
He was working for King County as a supervisor for the juvenile court probation department.
Wow.
And he really enjoyed his job.
Oh, cool.
You know, he enjoyed working with teenagers
Mhm.
and pictured himself doing it,
Yeah.
for a very long time.
Mhm.
But then in May of 2006,
Okay.
he was hit with a kidney stone.
Kidney stone.
Now,
you
he'd
know.
had kidney stones before.
Right.
So
not an uncommon experience.
no, right. He said that his initial reaction wasn't one of panic,
Okay.
It wasn't like, oh my God, this is serious.
Right.
He went to the ER expecting the usual.
Yeah, the usual.
Pain relief. Maybe, they'd have to do a procedure later on.
Right.
But he'd been through it before.
Yeah.
So it wasn't anything crazy.
Okay, so he kind of anticipated that standard treatment that he received in the past.
Yeah, exactly.
But this time, unfortunately, it took a dangerous turn.
Yeah, things took a bad turn.
Yeah.
He developed a kidney infection
Family infection.
that didn't respond to antibiotics.
Wow.
And following the removal of the kidney stones,
Okay.
this led to sepsis.
Sepsis, which is
Very serious,
yeah,
life-threatening condition.
yeah, very serious.
Yeah,
And according to his medical records,
right.
he was declared clinically dead for
Yeah.
about an hour and 45 minutes.
An hour and 45 minutes.
This is a long time.
Yeah, it's a significant amount of time. So
Yeah.
now,
Yeah.
here's where things get
Here's where it gets good.
really interesting.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
despite the seriousness of the situation,
Mhm.
like dying,
Yeah.
Dean says he wasn't afraid at all.
Interesting.
He credits his Christian faith
Mm-hmm.
and his belief in heaven for this feeling like he was going home.
Going home. Yeah.
And he describes the sensation of his spirit leaving his body,
Wow.
moving through the hospital floors,
Through the hospital floor?
and then entering heaven.
Wow.
And what struck me was how quickly this happened.
Yeah.
He says, faster than a blink of an eye.
Faster than a blink of an eye.
Wow. In his words.
Yes.
So like
So this feeling of
instantaneous.
instantaneous travel
Yeah.
is really interesting.
Yeah.
How does that compare to other accounts that you've encountered?
Yeah. That sensation of rapid transition.
Yeah.
Seems to be
Yeah.
a recurring theme.
It's a recurring theme in many near-death experiences. Yeah.
Right.
Although the specific imagery can vary widely
Right.
from person to person.
Right.
Some people see a tunnel.
Right.
But his reflection on the biblical idea of being absent from the body is to be present with the Lord
Right.
really provides a framework for his understanding
Yeah. Yeah.
of this swift departure.
Right. No.
And it's interesting, he didn't experience the tunnel
Right.
that's often described.
Right.
Instead, his initial perception of heaven was like stepping through a window.
Hmm.
It's like a window to another realm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what he encountered on the other side
Yeah.
sounds truly remarkable.
He does. It does.
He talks about an overwhelming sense of beauty
Okay.
and peace
Yeah.
and a feeling of being completely welcomed, as
Right.
if he had, finally arrived home.
Yeah, it's like the ultimate sense of belonging.
Yeah. And he says that nothing could disturb him or irritate him.
Hmm.
He even felt that everything in heaven.
Right.
And he's not just talking about divine figures, but the trees and flowers
I
as
know.
well
Good.
seemed happy for his arrival.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah. Like creation itself is celebrating
Yeah.
his arrival.
I'm contributing to this incredible atmosphere of welcome,
Yeah.
you know?
Wow.
That feeling of welcome.
The intensity of that feeling of welcome is striking.
Yeah.
What do you think accounts for that common element in NDEs?
Yeah, that's a really good question.
Yeah, it really is. Like, what is it about these experiences
Right.
that evokes such a profound sense of
Right.
acceptance and belonging?
Right. It's not just the absence of negative feelings.
Right. It's not just that.
Yeah.
It's an active sense of joy and welcome
Yes.
emanating from the entire environment.
Yeah.
So this suggests a profound sense of belonging and harmony
Right.
that goes
Beyond.
way beyond our everyday earthly understanding.
Right. Yeah. And Dean had a very specific desire.
Okay.
He deeply longed to see Jesus
Oh, wow.
face to face.
Okay.
He felt that heaven wouldn't be complete
Right.
without both the Father and the Son.
Right. Okay.
And he describes moving through a forest
Okay.
where he knew Jesus was present.
Mm-hmm.
And then he recounts this incredible image
Okay.
of the trees parting before him,
Wow.
almost announcing
Wow.
he will see the King.
He will see the King.
Yeah.
Wow, that imagery
It's powerful.
is so powerful. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so visually striking.
Yeah.
It really creates a
Yeah.
strong sense of anticipation,
Yeah.
reverence and
Right.
expectation,
Yeah.
underscoring the significance of this encounter for Dean.
Totally.
Yeah.
And then he emerges into this great brightness
Wow.
and sees Jesus.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
interestingly, Jesus is facing to his left,
Okay.
looking at a multitude of angels
Right.
and people who had been redeemed.
And and Dean's immediate reaction is to fall to his knees.
Right.
He's completely overwhelmed with gratitude.
Yeah.
And he felt that Jesus' sacrifice
Mhm.
wasn't just a general act,
Yeah.
but something deeply personal.
Oh.
As if Jesus had
Yeah.
created heaven specifically for him,
Wow.
which is a very personal interpretation.
It is. It is.
How might someone from a different faith background understand that feeling of a personal connection
Right.
to the divine?
Yeah, that feeling of a personal connection to the divine
Yeah.
is really a common thread in many near-death experiences,
Right.
regardless of specific religious beliefs.
Right.
And so, while the interpretation might differ
Mm-hmm.
based on one's background,
Yeah.
the sense of individual love and significance during these experiences
Right.
often remains profound.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he describes looking at Jesus
Okay.
and focusing on his feet, his ankles, and hands,
Wow.
and feeling this immense love
Okay.
emanating from him. And when Jesus finally looked at him,
Oh, wow.
Dean says it was unforgettable.
Yeah.
He felt seen and loved as if he had never disobeyed in his entire life,
Wow.
which resonated deeply with his understanding of forgiveness
Right.
from his reading of Hebrews. And for our listeners who might not be familiar, the book of Hebrews in the Bible talks a lot about forgiveness and the new covenant offered through Jesus.
Yeah.
And Dean had this profound realization of eternal life and the permanence of that love.
Wow. That sense of unconditional love and complete forgiveness sounds incredibly transformative.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he says it was.
It really is.
So after this initial encounter,
Right.
Jesus tells Dean, "No, my son, is not your time yet. Go home."
Go home.
And Dean accepts this.
Wow.
And for his return journey,
Okay.
he doesn't go back through the forest,
Right.
but passes over it,
Okay.
a few feet above what he calls the divine surface,
A divine surface. Yeah.
without any fear of heights.
Interesting.
And he reaches the edge of heaven,
Okay.
and it's not a door,
Right.
but a knowing
Okay.
that the next step would take him out.
Yeah.
And he pauses there,
Okay.
feeling happy
Okay.
that it wasn't yet his time to leave.
Wow.
So this detail about the mode of return is interesting.
Yeah. Yeah.
It suggests a different way.
It's like a different mode of navigating this.
Realm, yeah.
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 And his feeling of joy at not having to leave yet
Right,
really underscores the profound peace and happiness he found in heaven.
yeah. Then
Yeah.
he turns back and sees the forest again, sensing Jesus on the other side, and he decides to explore the left side of the forest
Okay.
and witnesses incredible beauty,
Wow.
mountains that look like moving ocean waves.
Mountains like moving ocean waves. Wow.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah. And he was so captivated by this, he thought he could stay there forever.
Yeah,
right. He knew he needed to return to Jesus.
Right.
Yeah.
This exploration suggests a real richness
Yeah.
and variety
Yeah.
within this heavenly realm.
Right. And it does suggest a richness and diversity
Yeah.
within the heavenly realm with different aspects
Yeah.
to experience and appreciate.
Yeah.
And his internal conflict between wanting to stay
Yeah.
and feeling the need to return
Yeah.
really highlights that powerful pull of
Mhm.
both the spiritual and earthly realms.
Yeah. So when he returned to Jesus,
Okay.
this time approaching from behind,
Okay.
he kneels again.
Yeah.
And they communicate further about heaven.
That's right.
And then Dean experiences this intense light
Okay.
emanating from Jesus,
Yeah.
enveloping him completely.
Wow.
And for the second time,
Okay.
Jesus tells him, "No, my son, it is not your time yet. Go home."
Go home. Okay. The repeated message definitely emphasizes that his time on earth isn't finished.
Right.
Yet really underscores that his time on earth is not yet complete,
Right.
suggesting a purpose or a reason
Yeah, yeah,
for his return.
yeah.
And the intense light will be interpreted in various ways.
Yeah,
Perhaps as a further impartation of divine energy or understanding.
right.
Something like that, yeah.
So a second time, Dean passes over the trees
Okay,
towards the edge of heaven.
right.
But this time he has a moment of really considering staying,
Oh,
you know.
okay,
Instead of going left again,
okay,
he explores the right side of the forest
Wait.
where he sees wonders related to water.
okay.
You know, vibrant oceans,
Yeah.
seas, rivers,
Wow.
all with incredible blues and colors, along with a great diversity of animals.
A diversity of animals, okay.
Yeah.
So this the further exploration
Yeah.
really paints a picture of heaven
Right.
as a place of incredible beauty and diversity.
Right.
Yeah, it reinforces that idea of heaven as a realm of immense beauty and diversity,
Yeah.
encompassing all these different aspects of creation.
Right.
And his contemplation of staying
Yeah.
highlights the strong allure
Yeah.
of this experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Eventually, he returns to Jesus once more,
Okay.
again kneeling at his feet.
Right.
And this time, he sees his family
Wow.
on the other side of Jesus.
Wow.
His grandmother, Mary, is in front,
Okay.
followed by generations of ancestors,
Wow.
all connected to Jesus and the Father,
Okay.
there to receive him.
Wow.
And he realizes that they were present
Okay.
during his previous encounters.
Yeah.
But his focus had been entirely on Jesus.
Right.
You know, this
Yeah.
revelation.
Must have added a significant emotional layer
Yeah.
to his experience.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
he describes the people in heaven
Right.
as radiant,
Okay.
with big smiles and pure joy.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
beyond earthly description.
Right.
Because there's no concept of time there.
There's no time.
Right.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
he was struck by the unity
Right.
and happiness of his entire family.
Wow.
Something he hadn't fully grasped while on Earth.
Hmm.
And he also saw people he hadn't expected to see, realizing that the key to being there
Yeah.
is accepting Jesus Christ as Lord and Savior.
Right.
And he then experiences Jesus' grace
Okay.
and the collective praise of heaven.
Wow. This emphasis on family and the idea of inclusivity based on faith
Yeah,
is a really powerful part of his account.
it is. Yeah.
It aligns with those core tenets
Yeah.
of his religious beliefs.
Mm-hmm.
You know, offering a comforting perspective on the afterlife and the importance of faith.
Totally. Finally,
Yeah, I love it.
Jesus gives his third
Right.
and firm command.
Yeah.
Son, it is not your time yet. Go home.
Go on.
And then his grandmother, Mary, adds
Yeah.
a specific instruction.
Okay.
Bring back as many people as you can.
Bring back as many people as you can.
Referring to his earthly family.
Oh.
You know, like,
So that third command
yeah.
really underscores the importance of his return
Right.
and his grandmother's words.
Yeah.
Give him a clear mission.
Yeah, a purpose.
The purpose, right?
Dean bows before Jesus.
Okay.
Passes over the trees to the edge of heaven.
Mhm.
Takes a step.
Yeah.
And finds himself outside that realm.
Wow.
Weeping like a child.
Weeping like a child.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. His emotional reaction really speaks
Yeah.
to the profound impact
Yeah.
of his entire experience.
Yeah. He re-enters the hospital room
Okay.
and sees his body on the bed
Wow.
with doctors already preparing the death certificate.
Wow. That's heavy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He looks at his body, turns away,
Yeah.
and then returns to his physical form.
Returns to his physical form.
You know,
What?
the heart monitor restarts.
Oh.
The doctors rush back in,
Yeah.
and they begin resuscitation efforts.
Wow.
Dean admits that he didn't want to return, feeling that God had a purpose for him in heaven.
Okay.
But he also sensed a purpose for him back on Earth.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not uncommon for individuals who've had NDEs to express a reluctance to return to their physical bodies, given that profound peace and joy they experienced.
Yeah.
His sense of a continuing purpose on Earth is also a recurring theme in these accounts.
Right. So since his NDE, Dean says his perspective has changed dramatically.
Okay.
He views things from a spiritual standpoint
Okay.
and doesn't cling as tightly to earthly possessions, though he acknowledges that they are still necessary here.
Yeah.
And he mentions that his wife could probably speak more about the specific changes she observed in him.
Right.
And he concludes by saying there's much more to tell.
Okay.
But this was a sharing of his core experience.
Wow, it's fascinating to hear how such a profound experience can shift someone's values and priorities.
It really is. It's remarkable.
And it's not unusual for individuals who have undergone NDEs to report significant shifts in their values.
Right.
Often with a greater emphasis on spiritual matters, relationships, and a diminished focus on material possessions.
Yeah.
You know, and the impact on their lives and the lives of those around them can be quite significant.
Yeah, it's powerful stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
So to kind of summarize
Okay.
this deep dive into Dean Braxton's testimony for you, we've explored his medical crisis, his journey out of his body, and his incredibly rapid arrival in a heaven filled with overwhelming beauty and welcome.
Yeah.
We delved into his powerful encounters with Jesus Christ, the profound sense of love and forgiveness he experienced, and the repeated message that it wasn't his time to stay. We also witnessed the unexpected and joyful presence of his family in heaven, and that final firm instruction to return home carrying a message of love and a call to bring others closer to faith.
Yeah, so for you, our listener, consider the key elements of Dean's experience, the vivid descriptions of the heavenly realm, his intensely personal interactions with Jesus, the comforting presence of family, and that overarching emphasis on faith and God's grace. What aspects resonate most deeply with you?
Yeah, this deep dive into Dean Braxton's near-death experience certainly gives us a lot to contemplate.
It does.
So consider the implications of his journey on your own understanding of life, death, and faith. What stands out to you most from his account? And what further questions does it spark about the spiritual realm and our purpose here on Earth?
That's something to think about long after this deep dive concludes.
Yeah, it's really powerful stuff.
Absolutely.
Thanks for joining us.
It's been a pleasure.
For another deep dive, and we'll see you next time.
See you next time.
All right.